Takže přátelé, máme před sebou poslední příspěvek dnešní konference před panelem, na kterém, jak jsem říkal, budeme přemýšlet o tom, co dál. Mám tu velkou čest přivítat mezi námi prezidenta banky Etika z Itálie, Ugo Biggeriho, který zaskočil a teďka nám jednak řekne o historii a konceptu banky Etiky a jednak nám řekne nějaké svoje další myšlenky k tomu problému, který tady na konferenci řešíme. Takže Ugo Biggeri, je to jeho.
I was controlling what he say because I want to be sure how I'm presented. Well, thank you very much. And I will use some slides, but let's say I will not comment every of them. I will leave to the organizer. So if someone wants the slides, is it possible to have them? Well, Banca Etica Banca Etica is born about 15 years ago, but in 99. But it started to work, the idea of the bank started about 5 years earlier. So we need 5 years to set up the bank. And it was the first bank with a ethical vision in Italy. But then, we thought that when we start, but then when you incredible manage to make a bank working, and you look around in the world and you look behind you in the history, you discover that a lot of banks have been born with ethical background, and especially in Italy. So I will spend something that is not written in the slide, reacting also the previous speaker, because the banks born in the idea of the banks born in some countries in Europe, and Italy play a very important role at the beginning at the end of the medieval age and the starting of the Renaissance. And of course, the commercial bank, the very aggressive bank, were born there, and the town where I come from, which is Florence, is so beautiful because they were the more powerful bankers of Europe, and they loan money to everybody and make at very high interest rate and make a huge amount of money, and so they can afford to have a beautiful town. And but also some banks with ethical background, like the Monti. Nowadays in Italy, everybody knows Monte dei Paschi di Siena is the oldest bank in the world still working, but it started as an ethical bank because it was behind the Franciscan movement who say we have to find a way to give credit to the people who don't have credit and to give them to lower interest rate. And so they built a public bank, which was the Monte. It was a sort of public bank, not in the sense that the government is owned, but more in the sense of a public company, we will say, with the different stakeholder in the territory. So we are not for sure the first ethical bank. For sure will be not there will be others in the future. Which is the things that I think is characterizing banks like Banca Etica, but even like ELS that will be 40 years next year, or other banks that are here, is that the driving forces to make a bank was not just the loans. Of course, we are talking about loans, making loans in social economy, making loans for third sector, making loans for cooperative, making loans for this. This already happened in the histories of the bank. If we take the Raiffeisen movement and the credit union movement, the idea was giving loans to a specific sector of people, of hand worker, of people who work in the fields, that agriculture, who don't have access to the credit. And so Banca Etica too in Italy, the driving force was giving money to the non-profit sector that in the 90s was growing very fast in Italy, and banks were not financing that. But there was another driving force, and this is very new on another ethical driving forces. That is, I would say, I will use the title of your money who makes sense, or where are my savings? Such questions were not so not so used to be made. Normally, it's the credit side that we look. We don't look the savings side. But there is a demand on the savings side. People who want to know how their money are used, what they do in the night, what they do in Christmas, the day of Christmas, because money works every day, every night. You pay interest not just 8 hours a day. You pay interest 24 hours a day, 365 days in the year. So citizens who start to make questions about the use of their money. And this is something new. And then there is a different way to give an answer to this question. And there are the sustainable bank, there are the green banks, there are the ethical bank, the social banks, but all these new kind of banks where it's very important to know what are you financing, and giving a vision, a policy about the loans, because not just because you want to good loans, but because one of your main stakeholder is the saver, is very important. And so we born in a way that we ask for some association, non-profit sector association, to join in the project of the bank. And we discovered, they joined, but we discovered quite early. I come from one of these associations. We were making an NGO who make work with the south of the world, so developing project. And but then these institutions don't have so much money, or don't want to put so much money in the bank. And where are monies? Monies are all around us. In any country, if you look at the total population of the country, and you look at the total savings of the country, and you divide it, you will discover that even if the average of the money the people have as a savings are not so high, but if you put 10,000 people together, it comes out a huge amount of savings. And we normally don't see that because we see the average. We see our few money of savings that we have. But if you put all together, you have really something powerful. And so this is what happened in Italy. We start with the idea that the bank will be owned. It's the model that have charity bank. We didn't succeed with the model of charity bank. We look for NGO who were the shareholders of the bank. We failed. So that's why we need some time to make it. But we discovered that the citizens who are volunteering in this association, in this charity, they agree with the project of a bank, so they put their money on the bank. And these things we can see in I will go a little bit further here. If you look at the total equity we have nowadays as a bank, we have 45 million of equity. Then there is reserves and other things, so the total equity is a little bit higher, but the equity owned by shareholders is 45 million, which was, if you think that we just start with a few people putting 100 euro each, it's something big. But you see that of our 40,000 members, only 60,000 are legal entities. The others are citizens. So the banks start as a bank who want to network legal entities, but becomes a bank where citizens, savers are very, very, very important. And so we develop a way of a governance of the bank where the participatory issues are very strong. Sometimes are even too complicated, because I come back. No, sorry, because we have. Of course, we have the typical banking structure with a headquarter, 17 branches, and 24 we call itinerant banker, which are people who going in the territory where we don't have the branches. But what we have is that then we have a member organization. And a member organization means that aside to the structural, typical banking structure, we have a structure of the volunteers of the bank. So we are still a bank after 20 years where a lot of volunteers works. Of course, the amount of hours of the volunteers is very few in respect with the amount of hours of the professionists, but they work with the organization of the bank because they don't just interact at the top when you vote for the administrative board, but in the everyday life in the territory they react with the bank. For instance, when we make a new loan, we make our ethical or our environmental and social evaluation, and of course the financial evaluation, because otherwise you don't finance anything if it doesn't work. But we have also a check with the local shareholders who simply say, these people, you can trust them or not. And this is surprising good to do for us, has been surprising good. If we look at the best project we do, I think the more innovative are in the south of Italy, in Calabria, in Sicily. In Calabria, we even not have branches. And Calabria is a region where you have 12% of credit loss in the banking sector. It means that if you give out €100, 12 will never come back. So it's quite hard to work there. And there is legalities, it's 'ndrangheta, which is a very strong mafia criminality organization. Well, we manage in Calabria to make not so much, but between 10 and 20 million euro of financing without having a branch, and we don't have any problem with legality. We have all good project and a credit loss which is 1%, which is, of course, in comparison with 12, nothing. And why this happened? Because we have a network of citizens who help the bank to do this. So this is develop a quite complicated system where there are regions, there are 5 areas, northeast, northwest Italy, center of Italy, south of Italy, and nowadays there is also Spain, where the shareholders are organized and they have their association structure which interacts with the bank. Two numbers maybe, because it's important when you talk about a bank, talking about numbers. We are a little bank. Numbers seems very big, but we are a little bank in comparison with and this is it's for all banks, ethical or sustainable banks in Europe. We should say the market is still a niche. It's very little, which means, in my opinion, that we can grow a lot. But even the banks, the bigger or older bank like Triodos or GLS, they don't reach the 0.5% of the market. No, they're below the 0.5% of the market, well below 0.5% of the market. So even if numbers seems big, maybe between you don't have so much experience about banks, they are not so big. We have now about 800 million of deposits. We make loans for about the same amount. We got a little bit lower now because of the crisis, but it was the same amount. And so we have around, not so many, 7,000 loans, which is not so big figure, okay? Then we have another company which make funds, so invest in completely different things, in bonds or in shares of company, because our client asked to have something like this. And there we collect, again, 200 million. So we have a little bit more than 1 billion of collection in money. And the Etica SGR then has other shareholders, and so reach 3 times more volumes on its own. We are a cooperative. Of course, starting with a system where you look to networks to be put together, we choose to be a cooperative. And we are proud to be a cooperative. We think it's a new way of seeing the mutualistic idea of a cooperative, not just the help between the shareholders, but the help to a better world, which is still a mutualistic idea, so a more open-minded or mutualistic idea. And, but of course, cooperative has some restriction. Like, for instance, looking for capital for a cooperative is a little bit more difficult or hard than for a company. I already showed this. What we do about the savings? I state the driving force was people who want to know where the money are. So we were the first bank in the world to put all the savings on the web. Nowadays there are more banks. The banks who do it more really like us as charity bank, because you not just put in the website who do you finance, but how much you give them, in which kind of form, if it's long-term or short-term or long-term loans, and for what purpose. So why you give this loan. So people really feel trust in what we do because they can see where the monies go. And almost all the banks, the ethical and social bank, give a lot of information about their loans. And this is, I think, is really, you can decide to have more or less strictly. Of course, there is also some weakness in doing that. We had for years, we just put the Excel paper of our loans. Then nowadays we have a competitor, which is a bank, so-called ethical bank, made by the biggest Italian bank, which is Banca Intesa, and they just download our Excel portfolio and go to our clients and say, oh, we can do better than Banca Etica. Okay, nice. So we find a way which is not so easy to have the complete database of our portfolio. But I mean, there are. You can choose to have a lot of different ways to explain the savers how you use the money of the savers, but there are a lot of possibilities. Banks don't use this. Even the cooperative bank in Italy, which are very strong, and we become also allied with them, but they don't give you even a percentage allocation of their portfolio. I don't know, so much on non-profits, so much on little cooperative, or so much on little enterprise or big enterprise. They don't give you anything. So, and it's really something that maybe I hope the financial system will learn from us. Well, the network, in the years we develop a network. And of course, in Italy, we have two tools, but it's not interesting you now. In Europe, there is many networks. We are in FEBEA. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. In CEFEA, and there is a particularly and in Global Alliance for Banking of Value in the World. We are living, let's say, practicing now a particular experience with FIARE. FIARE is a foundation in Bilbao, in Spain. And they, in 2003, I think, or 2004, I don't remember, I was not there as a president, come to Italy and say, oh, we have a look around what is going on. We would like to make a bank like you have made. Can you give us a consultancy? Well, it was quite interesting. They pay something to us, which was not, we were not at all prepared to that. Then, of course, because of passion, we put also money there. But it was the idea that they like so much that they can pay something. And so we start they just copy how Banca Etica do. They make their groups of shareholders in Spain, but things were going very slowly. And then they decide to say, okay, we want to show people which kind of loans we can do, and so we can collect some money for you, and then we make loans. Well, from the point of view of the marketing of the business, well, we don't lose money, but it's not best practice experience, because in 7 years we just have 35 million of savings and about 18 million of loans, which is you can see as a poor results. But we have to say that we don't work so much. We were growing slowly on their own. And it's quite interesting from a cooperative point of view because they simply try to strengthen their idea of making a bank, and we were just aside and collecting the loans, collecting the deposit and giving loans with a mandatory agency contract with them. And it's very interesting. In Italy, there are some taxes. We are very expert in taxes, in avoiding taxes, but even in having taxes. And, well, not everybody avoid, but somebody very famous do it. So we have taxes on the account. So every saving account has to pay about €30 a year of taxes, just because you open it, not because of how much you have there. No, it's a bollo. It's a wonderful word in Italian, bollo. And so people from Spain, this 35 million, they have to pay the this tax. It doesn't exist in Spain. So I tell you this because those people are not crazy. They just simply have so strongly want something different that they pay a tax which is absurd for them, and they ask because we're also in bureaucracy we are quite good. They need a fiscal code, Italian fiscal code, to open an account. So they ask for the Italian fiscal code, and so it's almost stupid to open an account like that. But they open, and we have to stop them because then it's nonsense also for us to grow too much. So. But this is just to explain you that the driving force of people who really want to have change is more powerful than what you think. If you approach that just on the point of view of it's business as usual, let's say, well, you will never set up an ethical bank or a social bank. You have to believe in the fact that people want to work with you. So. These are other figures about the bank. I will skip it because I have done some homework. So here it is, the homework. And well, how can this homework? Actually, I didn't do for this conference. Even if in English and like that, I write especially for you. But the idea, the spiral, you will see. It came out some months ago because we are called in Greece, in Portugal, and everywhere people want to do unethical banks and they don't know how to do. And we know that we are seeing how it works now in Spain. Well, we are supposed to open a branch. We ask for our central bank to open a branch in Spain, which will be a cooperative branch because 4,000 people will merge in Banca Etica. And with €4 million of equity, which is good for us, and we will try to do this kind of cooperative branch in Spain. But we know that it's a very hard work. It's really hard work. So when people say, "Oh, Banca Etica can do this in another country," no, not because we would not like, but because it's really heavy. So I put some idea here. Well, first, I talk about ethical banks. You can talk about sustainable, social, democratic bank. You can talk about what you like. The idea is a bank who answers to the question, where are the money of the savers? I think, and this is just my opinion, it's not a thing that we can work maybe in the future. There are some international networks that can help people who want to do this bank. I put some there. The one I think are more significant here, but there are others because we like to have networking. They're all the same people, but with different number in different network, but always the same, almost the same. There is FIBEA. FIBEA is a federation of alternative and ethic banks, which has been promoted by Banca Etica about more than 10 years ago. There is a society, a financial tool that I think could be a good tool for that because it's already a financial tool and it's a cooperative to start up ethical finance around the Europe. It do something, but not so much maybe. So it's a tool, but we should say that it could work a little bit more because you don't see so many results there. There is the Global Alliance for Banking on Values, which so far I participate to that, It's very good for the one who are already bank or to learn something, but I don't think it will be a driving actor in this. There is Ines. Ines is a network. It's quite interesting around the world. What maybe could be involved in a good way is this Institute for Social Banking, because Institute for Social Banking has the purpose for education of people. So education, exchange of idea, I think is a tool that can be involved. So on my opinion, but it's really my opinion, it's not the opinion of the bank or one of these networks, CFEA ISB could be the tool that can be involved in these things. There is where the person who spoke before me put the focus on the fact that there are a lot of rules. And of course, there is different difficulties. And if you are in the euro area, it will be easier than if you are in the European Union, because the euro has a unique central bank, so there are some rules that let things going easier. And so, unfortunately, the bureaucratic and the rule constraint, which are not only constrained, they have their sense, but for little banks or little people, very, very hard to create something new. I put just this spiral, which is like the things that you have here on your logo. I realized after, starting from the center. I think that, of course, there is a lot of other possibility. You can make a company, but I just design here what do Banca Etica on itself and putting something more, adding something more. What they can do, the fact that there are other banks around Europe and there are other networks. We need a strong local promoter, people who will do work volunteers, because there nobody will pay them for doing this kind of work, and that realize which are the niche or the solution or the ideas that you can have in your market in Czech Republic or in Portugal to develop Etica. And this is no one else can do this. And then when you realize that maybe you can do this kind of work, you can, on my idea, you can make a local association and try to be advisored by the others. So join FEBEA or Global Alliance or whatever, but join a network who will give you the patent that you are really doing a kind of job which is good. And this could help, for instance, if you want to do a credit union, and the idea of a credit union here is destroyed by past histories. And of course, then you start to look for others, because you have to increase the network. If you are weak, if you are alone, you have to join things together. And you have to start to collect equity. You have to convince people to put few monies, but locally, not abroad, locally. And then when you have a company, because you have some equity, you can start to develop something more. I think, and this is the point there in the right, that there is some possibility. 10 years ago, European Commission was not at all interested in social financial tools. Nowadays, yes. Maybe there could be something that could help, not giving the equity, not the solution, but the help for just even if you just pay the travel cost, it would be wonderful. I mean, so there is some opportunity. There are the banks, the ethical banks are bigger, so maybe a little bit, but maybe a little bit they can do there. And another idea is that if you have your equity, you can even try to, and this is the second opportunity I see, you don't do a bank, but you have some money, you use a guarantee to make loans in your country, or to make some leverage to force bank, even local bank, to work in the direction you like. Then if you manage to make a strong campaigning for equity, so you start to have some million of equity, not hundreds of thousands, then you can think to an evolution. And this also is a thing that is only up to you. If you want to have your own cooperative, if you want to just give get in a company and having a branch open, or if you just take a bank, existing bank, and you turn it, or you convince them to change. Nobody else than the people who are at the local level can decide. We are merging with Fiare now because the people of Fiare, they realize they have the money to make a bank in Spain, but they say, okay, it's 7 years we work with you, we are friends, why we have to do something different? So we want to merge. So they proposed to us. We were not proposing to them. Yeah? Even because if we want if you just look on the business point of view, for us it's better to open a branch in Modena than to open a branch in Bilbao. There is no way there is no doubt about that. Of course, we open in Bilbao. I hope we will open because we have made the count. We will earn money opening in Bilbao, but we will earn more if we do it in Italy. But the idea it's nice, and so we try to do it. So my time is over. There is some time needing work, a lot of work that nobody will pay. There is a competitive approach behind this idea. That is that you convince people to come to work with you, even if you are more risky, if you are theoretical more risky. You have to try to be safe and sound, but from the point of view of the paper, you are more risky, and maybe you pay less interest and so on. But because of your difference, which is even ideological or mutualistic, you can see, it depends on how your political position. Because of that, you will be more competitive than the other banking system. People, I just put also, we will discuss in the groups this, but I just want to see, there is some some strength, and there are a lot of weakness, because even just the language could be a dramatic problem. We have to say that, and so it's really not easy things. Maybe some solution could come from the 2.0 interaction, but it's not a banking. There are not so much rules that will come. You cannot collect savings. There is something there that is we don't know. But for sure, if I will do a new bank, ethic bank now, I will look with a lot of attention the 2.0 possibility. And the only things I want to put on the strength, I think there are at least 4 or 5 countries where there are people that seriously thinking about making an ethical bank. I suggest that you should talk a little bit together. Portugal with Czechoslovakia. I don't know if Scotland is still there, but I mean, this could be an opportunity really to find even some help from the European Commission to start something like that. If not, if everybody has, let's say, 500,000 of equity, and you put these 4 together, it's something that you can then go to other institutions and say, okay, we have together 2 million. What do we do? It's a little bit better than going there and say we have nothing and we don't know what to do, which is unfortunately what very often happened. So I think I want to be positive. Even if I conclude like this, I think there is a lot of opportunity that can be developed. Thank you. Yes, I take this one for sure.
Takže teď je prostor pro pár otázek nebo komentářů k tomu, prosím.
V nedávných italských volbách vyhrálo hnutí 5 hvězd. Jsou to podobní lidé jako vy?
Well, they copy something from us, yes.
Dobře, něco, co je více k věci, k bankovnictví. Tam vzadu, prosím.
den. Dotaz. Puse, tak. Vy jste o dobrovolnících. Jakým způsobem ty dobrovolníky vybíráte? Co to je vlastně, nebo kdo to jsou za lidi?
Well, a very, very different kind of people. I can explain you my point of view, because I volunteer for, I don't know, 6-7 years. I was in Penize13, this NGO. We were asked to become one of the promoter of the bank, and we decided that no, there are so many things to do. We don't need to do also this. And then in the same times, in the same period, there was an Italian law who was to control the selling of weapons. Italy was very good seller of weapons to Iran and Iraq when they fight together and so on. And so as an NGO, we make a campaigning there. And when we say no to the idea of being the promoter of Banca Etica, we discovered that the money we have as a chairman of the campaigning against landmine was a worldwide campaign who take the Nobel Prize. In Italy were carried on by me and another volunteers of Penize13, and we discovered that we have the money at the Banca Nazionale del Lavoro. Well, no, not so much money, they were about 50,000 euro, but they were in the bank who was mostly financing landmine in the world. So we realized that financial is what is driving the world, and that it does that with our savings. So very different kind of people can become interested of that. And there are some people who work in the bank, there are some other volunteers of environment or social things, of human rights. Of course, what you have to do is find the time to give education, to give relation to volunteers, because we don't have to think that the world is perfect. There is also a power, governance, strength on always when you have a cooperative or an association. So you have to take a little bit care of that. But there is not a selection. There is a post-selection by working together and making education.
Díky. Nějaký další dotaz, Naďa?
Děkuji. Mluvil jste o tom, že Banca Etica roste a i další banky, které tady dneska, jak si se objevily, taky rostou. Nebojíte se, že když ta Banca Etica dost vyroste, takže vlastně ztratí nějakým způsobem tu etičnost, třeba tak, že už bude méně osobní vazby ke klientům, nebo dobrovolníci ztratí motivaci, nebo členové ztratí motivaci, nebo se nebude vyplácet malé půjčky a podobně. Protože často, když třeba družstva vyrostou, tak je problém, že ztratí tu svoji duši. Nebojíte se toho, nebo děláte nějaká opatření, aby se to nestalo?
Yes, we are trying to do things to prevent that, but I don't know if we will manage, because if you look at the history of banks, as I have told you that there are a lot of banks that have been born with ethical issues, vision, you should be a little bit pessimistic on that. But of course, you work thinking that you will be able not to do that. And so far, the history, we can look at GLS, will be 40 years next year. They are safe and sound on their ethical background. Because maybe it has been built in a right way, and we hope it is also for the other. But your question has bring me to another question. The world, these kind of banks like to change the world, but the world will not change because this bank will become mainstream. Even if we look in the last 3-4 years, we grow up at the medium of almost 20%. If it continues for 70 years, we will become the 8th bank, Italian bank, 70 years. So it's 20% a year. There's no way. No, it's not this the way we will have to change. But if, for instance, some other banks will start to give more importance to transparency, will force really to have rules that will not depress the financement or the loans to the real economy, or to the even worse to the non-profit sector or to the cooperative sector, despite to the fact that investing in financial tools is much easier for everybody. If you, of course, these things I hope will happen, that other banks will start to work in the direction we do. And of course, they will never, or they will probably not be like the pioneers. But we need pioneers, always. Probably there will somebody else in some years who will make a bank teaching us and GLS and Charity Bank that how to do a better the ethical banking. Okay, it will be great when it happened, because it means that the things is the idea of the economy that is not just driving by profit, but also by environmental and social choices or responsibility is spreading out. So I think this is very important to have the focus that it's not just by growing that we will change the world around us.
Bezva, díky. Ještě někdo by rád položil otázku nebo komentoval, co proběhlo? Pardon, tamhle. Dáme poslední dotaz, protože pak bychom asi měli přejít k části panelové diskuze, prosím.
Tak mluvil jste o možnosti podpory Evropské unie nebo Evropské komise etickým bankám. Chci se zeptat, první otázka, jestli už nějaký takovýhle nástroj skutečně existuje v praxi. A druhá otázka, jestli vaše banka se pokusila získat kapitál třeba od Evropské investiční banky jako veřejné finanční instituce. Děkuji.
Okay. No, I didn't look for a specific tool of the European Commission, but I know that there is a lot of discussion inside that about, for instance, the inclusive finance, the social bond finance, and so on. There are a lot of discussion now because they want to set up tools for that. There is a very little project on ethical banking that has been already financed. Is driven by l'ANEF, which is a financial institution in France, and Credal in Belgium, and they have set up a cooperative for investing, a sort of venture capital for social investments. It's at the very beginning, and the financement of the European Union was not so much, 300,000 euro. But I mean, so I'm sure that there is the possibility. We don't look at that because so far we don't need, or we don't have start to look in this direction, because I assure you that carrying on the activity of a bank, it's a hard work. You don't have so much time to look around for other projects. You have to look at what you are doing every day. And the second thing, no, we don't have asked specific help from European financial institution, because so far, until it continues, we will use that. We are increasing in equity about 10% a year. We don't give dividend, so people who put the money in the bank, they don't lose the money, because every 2 or 3 years we make an increase of the share value, but they don't have any dividend. So for us, this is, till we manage to grow in this way, we will continue. Of course, it will be not possible in the future. It maybe is even not nice and right that it will be like that in the future. So, but we will change when we will be a little bit more strong.
Díky.